August 20th, 1917. The war was a thing of steel and smoke above the sea, but now below all was silence. We had been drifting for days. I am Karl Heinrich, Graf von Altberg-Ehrenstein, Lieutenant Commander in the Imperial German Navy. My crew and I were aboard the U-29, a submarine lost somewhere in the Atlantic, too deep and too far from hope. At first, we were victorious. We had torpedoed a British freighter, and it sank fast. But as it slipped beneath the waves, one man from the enemy ship surfaced and swam toward us, delirious, wild-eyed. His hands clawed at the hull. We tried to ignore him, until he died. He died holding onto our boat. We had to detach his corpse manually. And even then, something changed. Soon after, our engines began to falter. The navigation failed. No signal could reach the surface. We dove deeper, slowly at first, then with force. The control panels sparked, and water crept in. The U-29 seemed to choose a path of its own, descending beyond the range we had ever explored. We found ourselves in utter blackness, the kind that feels ancient and heavy. One of the crew started murmuring nonsense. Another tried to throw himself into the flooded torpedo chamber. I kept command. I always kept command. But I couldn't ignore what they saw. Strange lights, glowing shapes in the water, architecture, columns of stone rising from the ocean floor, etched with symbols not made by men. The sea had changed, and we had followed it somewhere we were not meant to be. One by one, the men slipped. They whispered to themselves, eyes wide and unfocused. They spoke of temples outside the windows, gates carved from coral, staircases that spiraled through space without logic. They swore they heard music, a rhythm deep and slow that pulsed like a heartbeat too large for any single being. The U-29 came to rest on a rocky ledge. Before us was a chasm, and beyond it, something massive. A temple. It rose like a mountain carved by alien hands. Its pillars were wrong, angled in ways that hurt the eye. Its surfaces shimmered without light. A few of the crew begged to leave. I silenced them. One jumped into the sea without his diving suit. We never saw him again. Another began sketching frantically, symbols that matched those on the temple walls. He died in his sleep. I began to dream too. Not like normal dreams. These were memories I never had. I walked vast underwater halls with ceilings like the night sky. I spoke languages I couldn't name, and always, there were eyes watching from the corners. We sent a diver out. Fritz, our most loyal crewman. He had volunteered, believing he would be the first to step inside the ruins. His suit was sturdy, his mind less so. We watched through the glass as he floated to the temple steps. He touched one of the walls, and then he screamed. Not over the radio, not through the sea, but inside our heads. The glass cracked. He vanished. The others turned on me, said I had cursed them, that I had brought them into the domain of gods older than war, older than earth. I locked myself in the command room. The last one left was Miller. He scratched something into the steel of the door before drowning himself in the airlock. His eyes were full of awe, not fear. Now I am alone. The submarine groans with pressure, but I feel none. I look through the glass now and see the temple clearly. It waits, and something inside it has begun to call my name. I no longer sleep. There is no night or day beneath this depth, only the slow turning of an ancient pressure, like the sea itself, is breathing around me. Since Miller's death, I've wandered the narrow corridors of the U-29 alone. The lights flicker low, but they persist. Nothing functions correctly, and yet nothing truly fails. It is as if some force greater than machinery holds this vessel intact, delaying its collapse. Outside the window, the temple glows. Not with light, but with memory. I have begun to hear whispers, not in sound, but in thoughts. A soft tide of suggestions, rhythms that shape themselves into half-formed images. Names I do not recognize slip into my consciousness like drifting kelp. Visions rise unbidden, cities beneath oceans, populated by creatures that move with ancient grace, their eyes knowing and deep. I know now what Muller etched into the steel. It was not madness, it was invitation. A return. The temple watches. Every time I gaze out, the structure seems closer, though the U-29 has not moved. The architecture shifts subtly, impossibly. Doors appear where there were none. Arches stretch upward beyond sight. Steps descend into opaque water that reflects no light but swirls with color when I do not blink. This place was not built by human hands. It is alive, a cathedral for something that does not worship as we do. And still, the dreams continue. I now see creatures in them. Not monstrous, but impossibly elegant. Their skin reflects shifting patterns as if painted by moving stars. They do not speak, but they gesture, and when they do, I understand them. They show me the earth long before man. They show me oceans that held knowledge instead of war. I watch myself, another self, walking their streets, breathing their water, bearing their sigils upon my chest. I was one of them, or am becoming one. I can no longer tell if I am remembering or being rewritten. The silence within the submarine has changed. It hums now, tuned to some great frequency outside. My heartbeat follows it. My breath, when I notice it, comes slower, deeper. I have stopped needing food. The water in the emergency tank tastes of salt and old stone, and yet it nourishes me. The buttons on the control panel no longer matter. I press them out of habit. They respond, but they do not function. It's as though I'm being humored. A guest in waiting. And then, today, movement. From the temple doors, a light, faint and pulsing. The rhythm matches the dreams. A signal. A summons. I feel no fear, only recognition. I put on my suit, not the thick diving armor from before, but a lighter one. A strange sense tells me I will not need the air for long. I open the outer hatch and step into the deep. The sea accepts me. Not cold, not crushing. It is like stepping into memory. As I drift toward the temple, the structure grows enormous, its carvings now clearly visible. They dance in complex repetitions. Some resemble constellations, others are fluid, organic, always shifting. The door opens. No resistance, only welcome. And within, I see the impossible. A hall without walls, a floor without end. Shapes glide above and below, not walking, not swimming, but moving with intent, guided by currents of thought and time. They see me, and I see myself among them. The temple closes behind me without a sound. The sea no longer presses against me. I am within something vast, something sacred, not just in size, but in feeling. The chamber I enter is open, endless. Its surfaces shimmer, not from reflected light, but from meaning. Symbols ripple across the walls like thoughts expressed in motion. I cannot read them, but I understand. This is a place of remembrance, of origin. My steps make no sound. I float more than walk. Around me, great pillars of stone extend far into a ceiling that is not a ceiling, but a firmament. Constellations shifting across it in spirals and waves. Time passes, but it does not feel like time. There is no decay, no erosion, only presence. Then I see them, the beings from my dreams. They do not startle, they have been expecting me. They are tall, fluid in shape, forms neither holy fish nor man, but something else, graceful, eternal. They radiate memory, not of lifetimes, but of oceans, of civilizations buried before the first human word was spoken. Their eyes are deep, vast pools of understanding. One reaches out, not with hands, but with thought, and I feel myself unravel gently. I see my past dissolve, not in destruction, but in return. My rank, my uniform, my commands, my name. They were temporary clothes. Underneath, I was always this, a citizen of a different time, of a different world. The beings guide me through chambers beyond logic, rooms that echo with silent hymns, walls that grow and pulse with memory. In one, I see murals painted in living color, histories told in a language of movement and form. I see cities grown from coral and starstone, rituals performed under silent moons. I see the rise of mankind as a flicker, a tide that came and receded. I see the temple always here, always watching, waiting for the return. I do not speak, but I feel myself singing. The final chamber holds a great basin, filled not with water but with liquid memory. A surface that shows not reflections, but essence. I peer into it. I see myself, not the man from the submarine, but the being I once was. Am, will become. Eyes open, ancient and blue. Limbs long, hands webbed, bones curved in rhythm with the sea. And I smile, because it is peace, because it is home. I step into the basin, it welcomes me. I dissolve, but not into nothing. Into wholeness, into form without fear, into presence without weight. I become the dream. And in the U-29, buried now and still, a journal sits dry and intact, sealed in a metal case, bolted beneath the command chair. It holds my final words, my human words. a record for whoever finds this place. But I do not expect them to understand, for the temple is not lost, it is waiting, always waiting, and the sea remembers those who remember it.